Well, good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome to the channel. My name's Dan, and today, basically, I've got a piece of timber ready to put on the lathe. And in my 2 years of being a progressive wood turner, I've never had the opportunity to turn this piece of timber. And what is it? It's horse chestnut, and it's actually a burl. So I'm going to actually unwrap this today during this video. I'm going to have a look at it. Looking at the diameter, basically, I'm probably going to mount this via the worm screw, and but no time like the present. Let's get this opened and hopefully get it on the lathe. Right, okay, let's get this thing open. I'm going to say it has been sitting in the workshop for the last couple of weeks, and I wasn't going to actually do a live with this piece, as being a piece of timber I've never turned before. I thought I'd literally just pre-record it, and but today I'm going to be using a 1/2 inch bowl gouge, 3/8 bowl gouge, and possibly some carbide, but we'll see how we get on. We'll see how we get on. But let's get this open. Let's get this open. Okay, this looks quite interesting. This does look quite interesting. So, but if you haven't not subscribed to the channel, I'm going to say it's very much appreciated. Any likes, comments, subscribers. Right, okay, let's take a good look at this piece. Okay, right, this is very interesting. We've got some really beautiful markings going on, and some inclusions going on in certain areas. So one of my good friends, Mike, basically told me to trust the process when turning any kind of burls, etc., because it's quite a new thing to turn for me. And before we get into this video, what I am going to do is I'm just going to give it a quick measure. Okay, so we are 9.5 inches, which is 24 centimeters. And in diameter, we are 2 inches. So again, we're probably going to get this onto the worm screw. And so what I've got here is an 8mm drill bit. And basically what I'm going to do, I'm just going to basically make a nice insertion so we can get this mounted. But the decision I need to make first is which side do I want to be the top and which one do I want to be the bottom. So, okay, I quite like the look of this front, okay, because it's quite there's quite a lot of colour going on, and different pockets really of grain patterns and characteristics. So we'll get this onto the worm screw and hopefully get it onto the chuck, and we'll see how we get on. Right, first things first, basically, is to look for that dead centre. So because we're talking 9.5, I'm looking for around about 4.5, just dead center, and we're going to go back around the other way just to ensure that we are bang on. Okay, yes we are. Okay, we just want to make it, there we are. So basically what I'd like to do now is take that 8mm drill bit and create a nice small insertion so I can get this worm screw mounted into the piece. Right, okay, I've just pre-sharpened my my 3/8 bowl gouge. Just before we begin, one thing I'd like to just check and just test is how much moisture is actually left in this piece. So I'll check on the outer side. Okay, we're down to 14% here, and on the face, okay, we're up to 17% moisture. So, but it does feel very, very dry in areas. So, but we're going to get this up to some speed now, basically. But I am on the Racket Power Cornet Herald lathe, which is what I've been using for the last 12-14 months, and but yeah, everything I've learned while wood turning, it's been an experience, it's been a journey. So but yeah, we've got this mounted up quite nicely there. I was going to say, I think the worm screw is sitting very comfortable dead center, and what I'd like to do is just basically try and clean up some of this, really. Some of this area here at the top feels very, very dry, and what my first aim is to get rid of some of this wax, basically. So wax which is surrounding the outside and basically the face, the wax on the face of the piece. So, but yeah, if you're new to my channel, I was going to say I've been wood turning for 2 years, and yeah, I was going to say I really enjoyed the process. It's my first ever burl, especially the first time turning horse chestnut as well, basically. So we'll see how we get on. But any comments, likes, subscribes, etc., is all massively appreciated. But I hope you enjoy the video. Now we're running around about 830 revs at the moment, which I find quite comfortable at this speed. So I could bring the tailstock in for a bit of extra stability, a bit of extra support. But at this moment of time, basically, what I'm trying to do is just trying to remove a lot of that wax which is based around the piece to stop it warping and cracking, etc. Right, so what I'd like to do now, basically, is I'd like to create a tenon, just a small enough tenon to fit onto the SC3 jaws. And hopefully we'll try and create some form and some shape. And let's take one quick look at the piece now as we've got it quite nicely mounted. So again, it's got some beautiful color variations going on, and some of these really distinctive colors. So I'll be quite interested to see how we get on with this piece. But yeah, I think with any type of piece of timber, really, I'm used to seeing a lot of British hardwoods, including oak, ash, beech. We've done some elm, we've done alder, we've done spalted beech, etc. But I've just got a small remainder part of the ash, the wax basically left on the piece here. So we're just going to clean that up, put the tenon on, and hopefully we can stabilize this basically, and hopefully turn it round and turn it into a beautiful, beautiful decorative piece. What we're going to do, we can actually speed up so we can get some cleaner cuts going on. So about 1,000 revs now, okay? Okay, we've got our tenon now nicely seated basically. So what I'd like to do, I'm just going to bring this back down to nice slow RPM. And what I'd like to do, be very, very mindful of some of these areas really. I could actually fill some of these areas with epoxy, but with some of these inclusions going on, I don't want to remove too much timber. I'd like to remain with as much character as possible, really. What I'd like to do next is put a dovetail on this tenon so it fits nice and comfortable in the jaws. And one way I'm going to do that, basically, I'm going to take my skew and we're going to sit a nice dovetail on the back of this tenon, and hopefully we can flip it round and try and get some kind of character going, really, and start hollowing, really. But if you enjoy the video, don't forget to support the channel. It is free, and hopefully we can create much more content. A lot of my content so far has been live, and I've been experimenting with what works and what doesn't really. So, but yeah, if you've never seen any of my live broadcast, it's going to say sometimes I make a mistake, sometimes I get it right, sometimes I get it wrong, but it's all part of that woodturning journey that I'm on. So, but yeah, let's crack on. Let's get the dovetail made. Right, what I'm going to try and achieve now, basically, is that because obviously we've got this flat base with the tenon, what I'd like to try and do now is create some form, create some shape to come round, really, and turn this into a beautiful looking platter. Right, so now as you can see, I've actually flipped the piece around, and just looking at some of the details in this piece, basically, it's really interesting. I was going to say, because it looks like got some of these bill swirling patterns really running around the piece, and but my first aim really is to kind of get this face into the same kind of proportion as the rest, really, because in some areas, basically, what I'm a little bit mindful of is it looks rather thick on one end and thinner on the other. So one thing I'm going to do just before I continue, I'm just going to measure. So we've got just short of, well, we've got 4 centimeters there. So about 1.5 inches in one area. And if I bring it back around to the fatter end, really, the wider end of the piece, it's still at 2 inches. So I've got just about an eighth of an inch, quarter of an inch, just to take off, really, just to get it into some even proportion. But yeah, and I've also got the guide hole here, really, where I had the worm screw. So what I'd like to do is bring this down into some kind of into face value, and hopefully we can try and get this looking more of a decorative piece rather than a practical piece. But I've been woodturning for a couple of years, and I really enjoy the process of turning a piece of timber into something actually beautiful to look at, something to hold, etc. Now I'm running at 1,140 revs here, so but I'm still using the 1/2 inch bowl gouge, and we're going to crack on and see if we can tidy this up. Now, a lot of the mistakes I've made basically when I was learning to woodturn, which I'm still learning to woodturn, is rushing. And it's when I've always done those rushing cuts, really. It's where I've managed to make a mistake. And I've had pieces come off the lathe. I've had literally pieces which have broken apart on the lathe. So, but we're going to take our time and just try and make some easy cuts. I may swap over to the 1/2 inch bowl gouge, which will take a lot more timber off than the 3/8. But we'll see how we get on with the 3/8 to begin with. There we are. We've nearly got to the bottom of it. There we are. I don't want to go any deeper than this now. I just want to keep this in proportion. And then what we will do, actually, we will swap over to the 1/2 inch bowl gouge. Now, both my bowl gouges come from Crown, and they've never, ever let me down. But I've also just got my hands on a Record Power 3/8 bowl gouge, which I'm going to reprofile in a later video. As I'm cutting, it's like walking along or cycling along a cobbled street. It's very bouncy. It's very it's very difficult to get a nice clean cut because obviously the burl is full of inclusions and like bumpy bits, and yeah, it's quite a challenge, but I'm enjoying it. Right, we're going to take one quick look at it now as we're turning this into more of a platter, really. And wow, I was going to say, this is why it's becoming very, very bumpy and lumpy in areas. And I don't want to be too aggressive with it, really, because it does feel very, very brittle in areas. So, but so yeah, it's my first time ever turning this piece. Well, any kind of burl, really. And as you can see, the pockets of where it does look like bark, actually, where it's coming through. And it's quite distinctive. And maybe I should have used some epoxy on this, but we'll see how we get on, because there's some areas which are very soft and just need to be very careful. So we've got pieces coming out straight away. So, but yeah, it's going to say, if you'd like to see me progress as a wood turner, I'm going to say I have got future plans for the channel. I've just ordered myself a pen mandrel, so we can try and turn some pens. We're going to try and turn some rings and try and turn some useful practical pieces, basically. I have turned vases. I have turned platters before. One of my main things I like turning is bowls. So, but yeah, I was going to say, if that's any kind of interest, don't forget to drop me a comment. Don't forget to like the video, and don't forget to also support the channel with a subscribe. But let's crack on. I am a little bit being mindful of that 1/2 inch bowl gouge at the moment, because of some of these really deep inclusions. I don't want to end up taking too much material off and end up breaking the piece. So what I might do at the moment is basically just clean up some of these walls. Basically, I don't really want to touch the face of the platter, because, like I said, we've got some areas which are quite interesting, and I don't want them to ruin the piece, really. But we've tidied up the rim, which is just lovely and smooth. But again, this face of the platter is very, very, very rough. So what I would like to do, go back to my 3/8 bowl gouge, and again, tidy the walls up, and hopefully we can start getting some sanding done. And hopefully we'll put some isopropyl on it to clean it up, and then hopefully put a nice finish on it, maybe tung oil, walnut oil. We'll see how we get on. Okay, let's stop there and have a look at this wall thickness and see how we get on, really. It's very, very different, and I've never, ever turned anything like this before. Quite happy with the depth. I don't want to go any deeper than that, and because it's just it's quite a narrow piece, and again, I don't want to ruin any of these distinctive markings, really. So, but for the first time ever turning a burl, I'm enjoying the process. I think it's very, very different to standard wood turning, from turning things like oak or ash. Burls are very, very different, very, very different, and definitely a challenge. I will probably turn another one, and I think it's just basically finding out what works and what doesn't for the channel, really. But if this is kind of any interest, or you'd like to see me try something else, don't forget to let me know what it is down in the comments, and I'll try and get it on the lathe. And right at the beginning of my journey, I began actually wood turning using carbide tools, and then I switched over to traditional tools, and I could not understand, and I could not get the technique, whether or not that was down to tool placement, or actually the technique of actually using the traditional tools. So I went back to carbide, and then through practice, perseverance, I went back to my traditional. Now I use both. Now I think carbide and traditional tools have their room in the workshop, and But yeah, I think with everything really, it depends on what tool I'm using and what I'm trying to achieve on the lathe really. Whether or not I'm using the traditional or the carbide. But today basically we're going to hit this with an 80 grit sandpaper, and then we're going to hit it with 120, then 240. Put some isopropyl on it, and then hopefully put a nice finish of either walnut oil or tung oil. We'll see how we get on. Right, now as you can see, basically I've got this down to about 240 RPM, and it's absolutely baby smooth now. I could go up to 320, but I don't think that's really required when it's this smooth already. And I was asking myself when I was actually sanding the piece down, would I turn another burl? Yes, I possibly would. Would I turn this type of timber again? Possibly not. The only reason being really, it's full of pockets and little holes here, there and everywhere. So I've been had to be very, very mindful with this piece and not to actually break too much of the timber off. But yeah, I was going to say, we're going to apply a nice coat of isopropyl, and we're going to give this a nice little clean up really, and see how it's going to possibly look just before we apply the oil. But yeah, if you're enjoying the video, don't forget to drop me a like. Don't forget to drop me a comment. And if you really want to support the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Helps the channel out massively. And but yeah, I was going to say, let's crack on. Let's get some isopropyl on. I'm going to get this RPM down, and hopefully we can apply some of this isopropyl without it catching the cloth. But look at that already. It's already starting to stand out. So, wow, okay. We can get a look at this very, very shortly. So we can get a look at this very, very shortly. Let's do the back side of the burl. There we are. Okay. I'm just going to wait for that to evaporate, and hopefully we can put a nice finish on. Wow. Okay. We've got some beautiful color going on here. Really beautiful colors going on here. It's really starting to pop now. I'm really starting to stand out. Some of these holes that I've got actually in the piece, I can actually see the other side of the lathe. So it's been really interesting turning a burl for the first time. And I think with any type of timber, any kind of project I put on this lathe, it's always just a learning experience. This is not a tutorial. This is not a expert at work. It's just basically I'm a progressive wood turner, and I try and achieve as best result as I can from the pieces that I work on. If you do want to get involved in wood turning or anything like that, really, go and speak to a local wood turner in your area and have a chat basically regarding the things that you'd like to turn, some of the things that may interest you, as in what lathe they use, what tools do they use, etc., and different processes. But we're going to leave that dry now, and hopefully we'll come back to it with a beautiful finish of either tung oil or walnut oil. Right, now we've given it some time for the isopropyl to evaporate. I was going to say we're going to apply an actual finish of pure tung oil from Furniture Clinic, and I use this type of finish quite a lot because it has a beautiful shine and it's got a beautiful sheen to the finish. It probably will take maybe 2 to 3 coats of oil. We'll have one today, one in another 24 hours, and again in 48 hours. And then basically what I'll try and do is take the tenon off, and it'll sit there as a decorative piece. But if you've actually enjoyed the video, I was going to say, and let me know. It's the only way I can improve on the channel. And but yeah, we'll see how we get on. We'll see how we get on with this finish now. Just using a small non-abrasive cloth really, because I don't want to scratch the surface. And what I'd like to do is just apply some to the back. And it has been an experience. I've enjoyed the process of turning a burl. I really have. I say, like I said before on my channel, I've turned a lot of the British native hardwoods, and yeah, and I think literally turning a burl is just adding to the experience of learning how to wood turn. And yeah, we'll let that stop now, and we'll have a quick look at it. And wow, okay, I'm really impressed. Really impressed. But if you'd like to see me turn anything else, something different, something new, say, don't forget to let me know down in the comments, and I'll try and get it straight on the lathe. But I hope you've enjoyed the video today, and hopefully I shall see you back in the next one. But thanks for watching YouTube. Take care.